Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen, other pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. So make sure you do stay to the end to find out which pair that is. But yeah, guys, I'll go through my trade for the week first, then we'll progress into the video and discuss my analysis going into the next week. If there's a certain pair you want to skip ahead to, feel free to use the timestamps down below. But I only had one position this week on pound NZD. So far, it's looking good. Take some partials off, and my stop loss is currently at break even. Still looking for a bit more upside into the resistance up here. Had some really good confidence getting to the trade. Had these higher lows. We broke through some structure. Again, I'll do a full kind of breakdown of this on this trade in the future video, so do stay tuned for that. But yeah, this is the only trade I had this week. Again, there was some okay setups, but they weren't looking too good. A lot of the opportunities I had coming into the week didn't quite set up how I wanted them to. Some didn't quite test some levels. Some just, moving in a different direction I was expecting. So I didn't really get the setups I wanted to, but pound NZD was a setup I was focused on from last week, which only materialized this week. So I managed to capitalize on this one. Hopefully we can see some more upside for this one, but this is a pair that we'll be analyzing shortly in the video, so we'll discuss in a bit more detail shortly. But onto EURUSD. So EURUSD, I'm still bearish on this one, but it's just very corrective. And we've had sort of a breakout of this consolidation, but the market's climbed back in. And it was a very weak breakout, very sluggish, not seeing much momentum. I wanted to see, especially because the news we had this week, to see EURUSD fall with quite a lot of velocity, and then we could look to pull back and then look to find our trades on the follow through on the next lower high. However, we haven't quite done that. The market's still kind of sluggish. Looks like it's back inside that consolidation. The trend line and the support level is failing to hold, so we can see that the market is failing to hold this. I was talking about this area last week, saying we had some good resistance turn support, and we also had that trend line. I said potentially you could see EURUSD start pushing to the upside again. This structure is still bullish, high, higher low, higher low, higher high, potentially new higher low. So we could just still see that bullish move to the upside. Technically we still can. We haven't actually broken through this low yet either, but the support level on the trend line is not holding. So we're getting some signs that the market is ready to go bearish. And like I said, I wanted to see us break through with some momentum, and then I'll look to follow through on the pullbacks. However, we just haven't quite seen that. So for EURUSD, that's still what I'm waiting for going to next week. I'm still really not looking at any buys until we break above this. If we break above that, then sure, I'll look for longs. But only if we do that will I look for buys on EURUSD, and targets naturally back to resistance, back to those highs up there, potentially some new highs there too. However, I'm looking to see if we can break through this consolidation with some strong momentum, and then I'll look for my pullbacks to short to the downside on the next pullback. So all I want to see for EURUSD is some more downside momentum. Again, people can look at this and go, okay, there's some bearish structure here. We've got that low there, that lower low, lower high, lower low. So there is some bearish structure here, but it's very corrective, and it's just not really the type of structure that I want to be seeing for my trade. So although I still do have a bearish bias for EURUSD, it's just not really a good trading setup just yet. So we'll be staying patient for EURUSD. I'm still kind of neutral, waiting for a good opportunity. If it does break to the upside here, I'll be more than happy to find some longs back into 1.09 and back to highs at 1.10114. And if I do see a nice push to the downside with some momentum, I'll be more than happy to look for the pullbacks to short, and targets will be into that price on the low over there here at 1.0511. So EURUSD, the setup is not quite there. The structure is bearish, so I do favor more downside. But in terms of actually looking for entries, I won't be looking for entries just yet for EURUSD. There might be some trades on the low time frames there, but the 4H, there's nothing for me. So I'm looking for 1.0666 for my entries. Hopefully get a nice break of that again next week with some momentum. Then I'll look for my pullbacks to go short, or if we don't do that, we start breaking to the upside, I'll be looking on break and retest at 1.079 for some longs back to highs for EURUSD. Now onto USD JPY. So USD JPY really ripped to the upside this week. Price is looking really good. I'm actually a big fan of some of the JPY pairs. USD JPY especially looking really good. I'm very focused on this level here. Hopefully we can get pulled back down into 132.774 next week, and that's where I'll start looking for longs. I also do have a secondary down here as well, so if the market just breaks through that, I'll be keen on 131.792. But one of these two levels do have good probability of the market seeing some type of reaction to go long and see some more upside. So Recently, the market's come back into resistance up here. This is a very key level here, as you can see. Big rejections around this area, 1, 2, and now we're coming into that level again. So this is a good place where the market could look to pull back from. Hopefully we can see a higher low form and then see some more upside. You can see we are printing these higher lows, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you can find another one, respect some levels here, and I'll look to go long. And targets, you can play it simple, or you can go for something a bit more braver. Simple would be back to resistance, back to these highs up here, because that is a key level after all. Or we can go to the next level up here where the market was stalling for quite some time, and we did see a lot of bearish momentum come from there. So around the 137 mark, big psychological level as well. That could be a nice target to have, but again, kind of almost doubling the risk reward from that level to that level there. So it's up to you how you want to manage your trades. Again, for me, I'll see what type of entry I get, and then that will probably determine which level I look to target. If the risk reward's not quite good into this level, then I'll probably stretch the trade a little bit further, take some partials here, go break even, see if you can go hit 137. But if I can get a 1 to 3, 2.5 in here, I'll probably just call it quits and take my profit and run. And also I will be looking at this level here. If this level doesn't hold, for some longs as well. And again, playing it simple, back to resistance, potentially looking for a push back to those highs there at 137 as well. So use JPY for me, lovely structure. We've broken out this bearish structure here. We broke through this trend line quite some time ago, and since then the market's been printing some higher highs and higher lows. So I'm really a big fan of this structure, just waiting for a good pullback and waiting for some entries to go long at some areas of confluence. So we'll be keeping an eye on 132.800 and also 131.700 for some longs, and targets looking at 137 eventually for USD JPY. Okay, so onto USD CAD. So USD CAD, I really do like the setup for this one. I did post a video about market behavior, and I was talking about USD CAD in it, and I do really like the opportunity coming up here. I would say I'm not a big fan of this resistance anymore. Main reason because we haven't seen such a great breakout. We were seeing good momentum, yes, however that momentum has depleted. We're seeing some really ugly wick rejection there to the upside, and the market's coming back down straight away. So for me, this is not as big of a breakout as I want it to be, for it to be a good break and retest setup. When price breaks out a level, I want price to really break through and show me momentum in that direction, and then I'll look for my retest. The fact that momentum completely dissipated as soon as we had the breakout is not a good sign. Similar to what we saw on EURUSD with this breakout here, is half-hearted, got a big wick there. We want to see real momentum. So that's not quite what we're seeing there with USD CAD. However, let's use JPY. However, I do have some levels that I am looking at which look a lot better, which we've had a much bigger breakout of. You can see this resistance level here broke out with a lot more momentum, and also this support level here, the last support level where we had that big push to the upside from. And obviously if you draw fib levels in from the low here to the high, you can see we do have some really nice confluence there at 0.618, almost the 50% there. But the 0.618 does look good. So these are the two levels that I'll be focusing on for USD CAD for the longs, 1.342 and also 1.337. Again, not to say that this level won't work. It could have a successful break and retest and start flying to the upside on Monday morning, but I'm just not interested in that. I'm interested in these levels slightly lower with better confluence and just overall better levels to buy from, because the breakout is so much better. And targets for USD CAD, again, they can be back to highs, they can be to this big wick here. This is where a lot of bearish momentum came from. So 1.362 would be a good place to aim for. We could go a lot higher as well. We have had a pretty successful rejection of this bullish trend line here, connecting these two prior swing lows, so 1 and 2. But bring that forward, you can see the market's had a pretty big rejection of this trend line, and since then we've actually gone and broken through structure, which is this low here, which gave us that move, creating this new high. So for USD CAD, for me, buys look really good. It's just that I'm not a big fan of that level anymore. So we'll only be looking at buys for USD CAD, pullbacks to one of these two areas, and that's when I'll start looking for my entries. And targets, again, depends on risk reward. I may push it back to the resistance, or I may look to attack this level up there at 1.362. But in terms of direction bias, we'll be looking at long. So keep an eye on those two levels. I do think we can get some nice buys for USD CAD next week. Now on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, nice bullish move this week. Again, we did have that bullish bias. Again, this one I did miss the buy, unfortunately. But it was a really nice setup, retesting this structure, which is what we were talking about last week. Price broke to the upside. I was actually looking for us to break above this level here as well, but we've had a very, very messy move here. Again, this is pretty much what I mean by a sloppy breakout. We had a key level of resistance. This was our price swing high in the market before we made this new high. I said, if you see a breakout at this level for a retest, I do think the buys will look good. However, you can see the breakout is very, very sluggish, producing wicks to the upside, hasn't cleared the level by much, not really seeing good momentum. This is a really sloppy breakout. So these are the type of breakouts you want to avoid. They don't really give the best breakout and retest patterns. You want to see price that really breaks through with momentum. Those normally give us the better trades. Again, nothing's perfect, won't work 100% of the time. But as traders, we want to make sure probability is in our favor, and this definitely does lower the probability of the breakout. So with Euro Pound, there's two setups I'm after. The first setup would be price was to re-break above this level with some more momentum. I'll look for the pullback and then look for the longs. This for me is probably the best setup, and I'll explain why in a second. Because I'm still bullish, the market is still creating higher highs and higher lows. Hasn't created the lower high just yet, but as you can see, the market is still printing this bullish structure here. So I'm still looking for buys to the upside, back to that resistance until we obviously break through structure. Then I'll change my bias. So yeah, this is the setup that I'm really after for Euro Pounds. If you can get back above that level there at 0.889, I'll look to buy above it. Or this setup here as well, which also, did not mean that. This setup here as well, which also does line up with the trend line and also with that resistance and support. However, the reason why I don't like it as much is because we do have this big old level in our way, which is probably not going to give me the risk reward that I'm after. So I may not take it as a risk reward, and even if it does give good risk reward, there's a good chance we could come into the level and the market just rolls back over anyway. So it's not the best opportunity because we've got a big level of resistance in our way. But again, the market might want to come back down and retest this key area, prior resistance over there. So we had that trend line which acted as some really nice support, 1, 2, briefly third there, even with a bit of a fake out. But the market could want to come down here before it does want to continue on its bullish journey. So this could also be a great place to buy around 0.885. But like I said, we just do have that resistance in our way. So I would rather see a nice break to the upside and then look for the retest on 0.889. But we'll see what Euro Pound gives us. In terms of bias and everything, I'm definitely bullish, as the structure is still bullish for me. So we'll be looking for the retest of one of these two levels, waiting for entries. And targets most likely will just be back to highs here at 0.896 for next week for Euro Pound. Okay, so AUD/USD. So for this one, it's very similar to EURUSD in terms of the breakout we've seen. I've been talking about this range here for AUD/USD for some time. And I said, if you can see a good breakout, we'll be looking to follow that momentum because we've had the break of structure a while ago now. You can see the price was making some higher lows. And price made that new higher high, and since then we had some news. I think it was NFP, and another one before that I think it was interest rates as well for the dollar. We broke through structure, broke through this low, spiked through that low as well. Gave us some nice lower highs. However, since then the price actually been very, very sluggish, and also with the breakout there as well. I was hoping we could see some really nice momentum to the downside, then look for our pullbacks to follow through. Similar setup with EURUSD as well, and actually a bunch of other dollar pairs as well. But yeah, it has been very sluggish. So I'm not too happy with this price action. Again, someone look into this in a bit more detail, could see that, okay, we've got a high over there, we've got a low, and our lower high, new low, have broken through that structure. You could look for a retest on this broken support level there, turn resistance, see what type of rejection we can get, probably some nice entries to go down. That could be a setup as well, but it just doesn't quite do it for me because the momentum is not quite there anymore. Did see some nice momentum previously. This was a really nice break and retest after that strong move, so that was a really nice trade there. We came there again as well this week. So shorts up there look good, but these shorts don't look as good anymore. So my analysis for AUD/USD is pretty similar to EURUSD. I just want to see some more momentum to the downside. Now I'll be looking for my pullbacks. I have been talking about a long-term bearish move here to the downside. If I am correct, I don't need to enter right at the top here. I can find some lower swing highs on our way down and still make some decent pips as well. So I don't have to go for the riskier trade and try and get some entries up here when the price action isn't quite good, when there's much better pairs to trade which fit my criteria much better this week. So For AUD, I'm looking for a bit more downside. Start ripping through some lows, see some nice downside, and I'll look for some pullbacks to short it again. Of course, just retest the support level, probably get some nice confluence, maybe with the trend line coming in as well. So we've got one lower high, second and third one, retest some structure, and potentially might even retest up here as well maybe, and then we can look to go short. So for AUD, the shorts look good, but not quite yet. We just need to see some good momentum. These levels look good, but we just not see the momentum that will tell me to get involved just yet. We might see a retest of this level, but it's just not fitting all my criteria right now, or at least to a degree which I'm happy with anyway. So yeah, AUSD, still looking at shorts. We do have bearish structure here. I cannot disagree with that. So I'm only going to be looking for sells for this one. But I just need to see the structure improve, the quality of the setup improve, and then I'll look to trade it. And at the moment, this is only what I've got for AUSD until we see something new form and we get a bit more information. But yeah, keep an eye on keep an eye on 0.686 and also 0.69 targets, 0.66500. But yeah, do need to see the quality of that momentum improve, and then I'll look to start trading AUSD. Okay, so NZD CAD has broken through these lows here on the left. Again, not much momentum, very corrected move. So I am expecting to see some upside for NZD CAD going into next week. Nothing that I'm willing to buy. If you are willing to take advantage of some buys next week for NZD CAD, I would wait for us to at least get above this level here at 0.84370. After all, that was the prior swing low we're having the corrective breakout of. So if you can get a break back above that with some impulsive momentum, breaking through some structure, some of these lower highs, wait for a pullback, retest the structure, could see some nice buys there. For me, for NZD CAD, I'm still looking at shorts, still seeing these lower lows and lower highs, but I want to see a bigger pullback. I'm not really willing to short that corrective structure down there. So I'm looking at these levels here for NZD CAD. So I want to see a lot more upside before I start looking at shorting this one. I'm not really too interested in the longs, bit more reversal type trade, but again, it could still be a decent opportunity there. So for NZD CAD, I'm still short bias, still seeing these lower lows and lower highs. This was a really nice impulse move to the downside. Hopefully we can see a push back up again, and then potentially another sell-off. Either one of these levels do look good with some good quality support and resistance and confluence there too. Probably we just trade it back down to the prior low as well. Nothing too crazy. Same with this opportunity up there. So yeah, NZD CAD, I still do have a bearish bias. Like I said, the breakout is very corrective. Normally this will mean a push back up again, so I'm not willing to break and retest those lows. But if it does come up again, I'll very keen to short this up around these areas. So 0.85 500, 0.86 100 will be having my eyes glued to these levels. Again, it is asking a lot for NZD CAD for next week, so this could be a setup that materializes into the following week. But yeah, I'm just not keen to do anything with NZD CAD down at these prices. Looking how corrective it is. Maybe on the lower time frames again, there could be some nice opportunities, but 4H, nothing there for me until we start approaching these levels here. So NZD CAD, still bearish bias, but I want to see a bigger pullback for this one to short some of these levels and targets. Just gonna play it down at that swing low. Could push it down to these lows, but if I get good risk reward, I'll be more than happy to take a profit here at 0.844 for next week. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So like I said, I'm still currently in a buy position for this one. I have my long trade down here, still looking for a push to those highs. So that is where I still see price going. And again, it does look like we're finally going to get the breakout of this descending channel. Again, it's not the cleanest breakout in the world, so pound NZD is not, it's a very big descending channel. So after all of this kind of consolidation, you do expect to see momentum start ripping to the upside, which we're not quite seeing. It's a very corrective move. So it tells me that, okay, we might push to the resistance here, but we might experience some trouble and start coming back down again. So maybe pound NZD is not quite done to the downside just yet. And to be honest, it's a very corrective pair, has been for quite some while. But zoom out, look at the bigger picture, you can see the market's pretty much moving sideways. So with pound NZD, we're going to keep it simple into next week. We're getting the breakout of the channel here. We've got key resistance I'm expecting price to reach. If we break through this, then we could see a push to 1.96, which is this key level of support, which is kind of like a big neckline for that head and shoulder pattern not too long ago. So I do think we can probably come and get a retest of 1.96, or at least just under 1.96 if we do break through the resistance there. But going into next week, longs still look good. So a break and retest of this level does look good here. You can see a lot of resistance, a lot of wicks into this area, even briefly over there as well. So if you can come back, retest the support, next high low. As you can see, that seems to be the theme of the market currently. We got low there, higher low, even that's a higher low there too. Could see another one print there on that level, just below 1.92. You can look for your entries on the hourly time frame. And again, nice little target there, back to that resistance at 1.94. And then maybe we could see 1.96-ish around there as well. But like I said, it's a half-hearted breakout, which is not really a good sign. Could be wrong, we could start ripping to the upside, but again, we want to see momentum like this, and this is quite corrective. So it tells me that, okay, we are getting the breakout, but it might not last too long. So this resistance here for me looks like a logical target, take a profit, then we can judge what happens next and react to pound NZD later on. But yeah, this is the buy setup I'm after. I will look to actually get back and add some more trades to this one, because price action is still looking good and we've still got a decent chance the market will make it to this resistance. So if I do get another entry signal, I probably will look to enter unless there's a better trade out there at the time. So yeah, pound NZD 1.91919. We'll look for entries around that area, and a push to 1.94 is looking pretty good. Okay, so next up we've got CAD Yen. So CAD Yen looking pretty good. Like I said, the JPY pairs are starting to take shape for some really good long opportunities. So I think the Yen pairs is probably what I'll be focusing on most going into next week. But anyway, so CAD Yen, looking for some trades for this one. Got some really nice confluence down at these levels here, really nice resistance, as we can see, multiple rejections around these areas. So a pullback all the way down here will be very, very nice indeed. Good confluence around there, testing around 98. So this is definitely my preferred setup for CAD Yen, but also there is a level just slightly above which price may react to and start flying from as well, which is this resistance here as well. It also lines up with that level there. But as you can see, that was the prior high, which we turned support here, was briefly support there too. You could see a retest of this structure and the market goes long as well. So with CAD Yen, I'm more fixated on this level, so I'm actually hoping we can break through this. But if we actually see some good rejection, I'll be more than happy to go long at this level too and take the trade. If it does fail, then again, I'll look to stab again down here, better risk to reward anyway. So if it does play out, I'll make back the loss plus a lot more. So with CAD Yen, still pretty bullish on this one, loving the structure, breaking through these lower highs here as well. We've gone from making lower lows here to start making some higher lows, so it's a really nice textbook reversal, just waiting for a pullback to get some real good entries for this one. So keep an eye on 98.828 and also on 97.950. We'll look for some entries at those prices, and keeping it simple, back to highs 100 to 100.200. Kind of weird phrasing, but yeah, that's pretty much where the highs are. So looking for some longs next week for CAD Yen. Hopefully we can get some entries on one of those two levels. Okay, so over to pound USD. So pound USD still looking bearish. It's a little bit corrective as well. So again, we're seeing that theme of, you know, bearish dollar pairs mostly, but corrective, which is not too good. You can see with the yen pairs, we're getting some really impulsive moves to the upside. They're a little bit corrective now, sure, but that's expected, you know, for the pullbacks to be coming soon. Whereas, you know, pound USD, yeah, great momentum here to the downside, lovely pullback there. Since then, a little bit corrective right now. So pound USD is actually probably one of the better dollar pairs to trade for next week. AUD, EURUSD, I'm not the biggest fan of until price action improves. This looks like a decent level to trade from, 1.205. Again, there's not too much confluence here, so pound USD, I probably won't be too interested in this pair. Potentially, if we get moved back up here, I'll be a bit more open to it. We had a really nice support there, broke through off NFP, I believe. Had some really nice resistance there, big spike through to the upside. 1.22 could be a really nice place to look for some entries to go again. To the downside, this is where a lot of momentum seems to be coming from for pound USD, so could get some decent entries back up there again. But also 1.20300, this price support level, could also send price back down as well. I'm still looking for pound USD to return back to those lows there after that massive double top pattern, which happened not too long ago. As we can see here, big resistance twice, market failing to create some new highs. since then, complete capitulation to the downside there. So I'm expecting price to reach these lows pretty soon for pound USD. We could start rejecting here, so keep an eye out 1.203. Again, it's not my favorite setup this week, so I probably won't be focusing on it, but it does look good. And also that resistance up there, 1.22. So yeah, pound USD still bearish. You can see the market is breaking through some lows, giving us lower highs here. So I have to favor the downside following structure, and entries at one of these two levels could be a nice place to capitalize on that bearish move. So yeah, pound USD looking at more downside, 1.203, 1.22 look like good entry levels so far, and a push down into 1.185 is what I'm expecting pound USD to be heading towards. Okay, so pound CAD. So pound CAD, again, I talked about this one on my market behavior video 101. Make sure you go check it out if you haven't done it already. But I said for this one, again, structure, we're seeing clear lower highs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, potentially 8. So the market's consistent with these lower highs. However, we're failing to break through this key low, which is not a good sign. If we broke through the low, with this momentum, then sure, we can get probably a really nice bearish trend forming. But what we kind of got here is a market that's kind of just squeezing, getting ready for a breakout between this level of support here and that trend line. And which way we're going to go, not too sure. We could break to the upside or break to the downside. What I'm looking for pound CAD is just momentum in a particular direction where I can actually look to follow that momentum and potentially get a nice setup for a trade. So if you can break to the downside, I'll look for the retest with the structure to go short. This will look like a really good setup because we have been seeing some really nice impulsive moves for pound CAD. As you can see, really nice impulsive bearish moves. However, they just haven't been clearing out any lows, and they've just been respecting that support. So it's not really momentum that I want to follow. If it keeps failing to break through support, if we can break through support, really nice momentum as well, then yeah, on the retest, on the pullbacks, I'll be more than happy to ride that momentum. And same to the upside as well. If you see a big push to the upside, clearing out some highs, I'll be more than happy to look for the retest to go long and see some upside. And we do have this bearish trend line here, connect those lower highs, 1 and 2. So potentially could see a push into this trend line sort of area, which kind of lines up with some of these lower highs there too, around 1.655. So I'm all for the buys and for the sells here. I just want to see a good setup, really, not too bothered which way it is, of course. I do favor the sells because we are maintaining those lower highs and still seeing some good bearish momentum. So I would favor price breaking the low, getting the retest and short. But if it does break to the upside, again, if we can get a good setup, there's nothing wrong looking for longs as well. So this is what I'm looking at for pound CAD. I'm not really looking to trade within this range here. It's just a little bit too corrective and a bit too 50-50. I don't really have clear bias in either direction. We're making consistent lower highs, but we're also respecting support. So it's contradicting itself. I want price to make its decision, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. Again, we just want to find a good trade. So with shorts, I'll be fixated on the retest of the structure. If we can get good breakout, 1.61230, and longs, I'll be keen on this level here. Really nice support and resistance there as well, around 1.63760, and buys probably back into that swing high there. Targets for the sells, not too sure. You've got to use price action on the left because there is obviously nothing logical to aim for right in front of us. So this range here gave us a lot of momentum to the upside. So 1.59 could be an interesting level to take some partials at. Maybe you could go a little bit lower to this low here as well. But obviously when you are using past price action, it's better be safe than sorry and then try and go and hit the home run. So yeah, 1.59 looks decent, but these are the levels that I'm looking to trade from. You just got to wait for the breakout first for pound CAD for next week. Okay, so over to pound yen. So pound yen's looking good as well. It's coming back to resistance. It's really trying to break through. So I am expecting pound yen to break through to the upside. We haven't broke through the resistance yet, so nothing's confirmed, but we are seeing a lot of higher lows. And the fact that we are finally seeing some lower highs being taken out as well. We have 1 there, 2, 3, 4, 5. These lower highs have been obliterated with a lot of momentum as well. So it's not even a sluggish move. It's price really picking its direction and seeing some upside. So I do favor a lot more upside for pound yen. I favor price breaking through the resistance here and giving us a retest of these lows here around 164, 500, 165. We broke with a lot of momentum, never had the retest, so we got incentive to actually go and retest those structures up there. So Pound yen bullish bias, definitely the safest setup would be the break of the resistance over here, which is 161.750. Markets had a lot of rejection here. If you see a nice breakout early on next week, wait for the pullback, get the entries, take the trades to the upside. Also a little bit more of a risky setup, but definitely a setup with some good confidence as well. Is some buys deeper down at these areas, anticipating another higher low forming. We're seeing a bunch of higher lows here. We could see one more push to the downside and then the move to the upside as well, get us another higher low and then potentially the breakout. So obviously you run the risk of price, coming into that level and coming straight back down again. But then if you're rewarded with the breakout, you can get a much better risk reward as well. So it's up to you guys how you want to play this one. Like I said, the safer entry, let me just move that out the way. The safer entry, the more probabilistic entry, which will probably get you, better chance of winning the trade, will definitely be the break of this resistance, because it's a very, very strong level of resistance. We've had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attempts to break through this, all have failed so far. So definitely a break above the level will be a better setup. But obviously down here, you can maximize your risk reward. There is still some good confluence there, so don't get me wrong, it's still a decent opportunity. But we could obviously do something like this and come back down again. Obviously, you just place your TP there anyway as well, so you can counteract that as well. But yeah, pound yen, looking at upside, 165 is my target, because that is the level we broke through with that momentum. So I would expect price to go and retest that. And areas of interest, looking for the break and retest of that resistance at 161, 600, 500, and also this level here at 159, 600 as well. Okay, so on to gold. So gold's been very, very corrective, slowly moving to the downside. I've been trying to look to sell gold, but I haven't really got any good opportunities. On the lower time frames, there might be something, with these, lower time frame pullbacks, but on the 4H, there hasn't been really anything that's been looking of good quality. I was looking at the low here, but unfortunately just never got retested. However, gold is actually coming to a very nice level of support. So I'm actually going to start looking for some buys for gold, which again does contradict my kind of bias for dollar, but again, price action, structure. If I get a good buy setup, I will look to take it. So down here around 1800 is looking like a really nice level. Not only do we have a very big psychological level, it's also a very important level on the weekly. As you can see, support there briefly, and also resistance, big move to the downside. So I do think we can start to see some friction around here for gold. Again, we didn't necessarily have to return it all the way back to highs for it to be a decent move or a decent trade. You can probably get 1 to 3 somewhere, back to some structure here on the left. So we'll be looking at some trades down here. Again, it might not be particularly at that level, because I do want to see some signs of reversal first. I'm not looking just to buy down here because it's at the level. I want to see price starting to break some structure, starting to create some higher lows. Now look to get in on a higher low somewhere and some confluence. So yeah, gold for me, I'm looking at some buys down here. Like I said, it might not be at the level, entirely, but around these parts as well, looking for some longs. And again, looking at these lower highs here for targets, nothing too crazy. But the shorts for me seems to have sailed. I'm not too sure if I'll get any good shorts. Sure, we might push to the upside again, maybe get lower highs somewhere. But for me, that's a bit more of a lower time frame trade anyway, so I'm not really looking at shorts there for gold anymore. I'm more focused on the buys down here. So gold for me, waiting for a bit more downside. Hopefully we can get there later in the week. We'll see what type of price action we can get, and then I'll keep my eye on for some trades. Targets, I'll keep in mind of these levels of resistance here. So 1844, 1864, potentially the high up there on 1885 as well. I'll be looking at for my targets, but that's what I'll be looking at going to next week for gold. Okay, so Bitcoin seeing some more upside this week. So I did say for Bitcoin, some sells back at 24k could look good, because down here is definitely where the buyers are looking to probably get involved. And we did see a big push to the upside, obviously broken resistance, turned support, market respected that for a few days, and then big move to the upside. So would have been some nice buys there for Bitcoin. However, we're back at resistance, back at some key areas around 25k, which is this resistance here. So Bitcoin for me, some nice sells could be presenting there soon. If I drop to the 4H time frame, you can already see one really nice rejection come up again, show some more signs of rejection. I do think that we can get some nice entries there for another move to the downside, stop loss above the level, and looking for a push back down to where we came from. I do think also there might be some nice buys for Bitcoin to be had too. We are printing these higher lows here, so potentially we could see Bitcoin come back down to this area here potentially form another higher low, 1, 2, 3. We've seen some higher highs as well, and possibly get another move to the upside. Because Bitcoin, the way it's moving, we still haven't broken through any important structure yet. 25k is still holding for now, but we do have that big infamous level at 30k. If I zoom out, you can see, I should go to the weekly time frame, see it a little bit clearer. This level here at 30k could be what's drawing price towards it. We could see a push into that level, then maybe a big collapse after that. So we'll be keeping an eye on 30k, 30, 31, 32, around that sort of area. We could be looking to push into that. Of course, a drop as trade is just not necessarily predict price, but just find good setups. And for now, these are good setups. So Bitcoin, keep an eye on 25k. We'll trade around there now. If you show some more signs of rejection, I do think there can be some good entries. Stop loss above the zone, and also I do like this buy opportunity here as well. Connecting these higher lows, looking for a third one, push back to resistance, nothing too crazy. If we do start flying to the upside for Bitcoin, then keep it around 30k, because up there I do think there could be some nice shorts for a big swing trade. If we see the rejection I'm expecting us to see, potentially back down to these lows and further. So keep an eye for 30k if we do see a big breakout, but so far we'll be trading this kind of range here, 25k shorts and also 22,600 longs there for next week. And last but not least, we've got our bonus pair, which is CHF JPY this week. So again, like I said, the JPY pairs are looking good. CHF JPY is definitely one of them. We can see a really nice setup starting to brew up here. I'm loving the higher lows. We've gone from making these lower lows here now to making some higher lows. So again, a really nice textbook reversal, which is what we've seen on a few JPY pairs as well, breaking through some key structure, breaking through some key highs. Now we're just looking for a pullback onto some more structure to go along and to continue this buy, until we finally break structure and structure changes again. But that's the plan going into next week. 143 is where I'm after for the longs. Really nice confluence down here. Hoping to get a nice pullback there early in the week, and maybe the second half of the week we can see the upside for CHF JPY. And again, targets, keep it simple, back to highs or wherever we retrace from. CHF JPY might push on a little bit more than it falls over, so then our target will probably be up at the high there. So wherever we start to retrace from, will be our target. For now, we'll just call it here at 145. If things do look good, we could leave some trickle back to our highs up here, around 147, 148. And this is where we had a big sell-off with a lot of momentum. We could be attracted towards that area. So keep in mind in that if you are looking to push your trade a little bit further. But again, if I get good risk reward into the high, that's probably where I'll just take my profit and walk away onto the next trade. But yeah, CHF JPY is definitely on the watch list going into next week. And that brings us to the end of the video, guys. So hopefully you have found this video useful and giving you some good guidance going into next week. If you have enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like. It's really helped out the channel. Subscribe if you haven't done already. Hit the bell so you don't miss out on any uploads or videos in the future. But thank you so much, guys, for watching the video. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all next week.